What's up guys, Quasi back with a brand new video, and today, back on Apex Legends. Now today, what I wanted to do is go over all 20 weapons that are in Apex Legends at this point in time and rank them from the worst guns to the best guns. Now a couple of these are pretty much a given, and a lot of you probably know where a lot of the guns are going to fall in this list, but I thought I'd weigh in on my opinion because I've been playing the game since the very beginning. It's been out for about 2 months now, and just to see where all the guns ranked at this point in time is really nice, considering they haven't had too many tweaks to all the weapons over the course of the game's life cycle at this point. So I thought it'd be fun to sit down, rank all the guns, see where they fall, and without further ado, let's get right into number 20. And number 20, bet you all can guess what it is. I don't think it needs an introduction anymore. It's the Mozambique. I mean, you can't put this gun any higher on the list. It does absolutely no damage. Its accuracy is terrible, 3 bullets, and the max amount of damage it can do is like 45 damage per bullet. So you can't even kill a guy with gray armor hitting them for all maximum damage with a Mozambique at the beginning of a game. That makes this thing absolutely terrible to find off the start, and if you find one, there's a chance you might be able to pick up a kill on a guy who has absolutely no armor and they're running around trying to find a gun. But that's about the only time that this gun comes into use anytime during a game of Apex Legends. As you can see in the video here, I literally just left one even though I only have an alternator. I'd rather only run with an alternator than pick up a Mozambique, just because this gun is so incredibly bad. And it's become kind of a running joke in the Apex community that this gun is just awful. So, I mean, I tried to put it higher because of the jokes and how funny all of them are, but I just couldn't do it because this gun is just so terrible. At number 19, I have the P2020. Now this gun, a little step up from the Mozambique, but still really bad. Again, to kill someone with gray armor with one clip from a P2020 is almost impossible, and so it just ranks really low on this list, because if you find one start of the game and someone has even an alternator or something, even just a step up from the P2020, there's a good chance they're going down even if you have armor and they don't. That's why the P2020 comes in at number 19. Number 18 is the RE45. Now this is where the guns start to get a tiny bit more viable. The P2020 and the Mozambique, good luck surviving with them, they're awful. But the RE45, if you find an RE45, beginning of the game, maybe you find a light mag for it or something, it can come in handy and that can actually get you a couple kills. The problem with it is it runs out of ammo really quickly, especially at the start of a game when you don't find that much ammo. So if you run out of ammo and you're pretty much stuck with just an RE45, you're pretty much screwed, considering it takes pretty much an entire full clip of all hits or headshots to kill someone with an RE45. So again, it's a little step up from the Mozambique and P20, but I mean, good luck surviving an entire game with just an RE45. At number 17, I have the alternator, and this is one of the guns that is viable early game. If you find an alternator, and again, if you find a light mag for it, there's a good chance you could even wipe a squad with an alternator. Like, it's a pretty decent gun. It has low recoil. It's pretty easy to control. It does decent damage, especially if you can aim for the head. So alternator, all in all, not a terrible weapon, but definitely not something you'd want to keep long game. You definitely want to get rid of it as quick as possible, but it's definitely more viable than any of the guns mentioned before. At number 16, and this might be a little controversial, I have the Devotion. Now the Devotion can be super good if you get a turbocharger for it. And I know all the jokes with the turbocharger, if you see a gold bin and it's just going to be a turbocharger in it, that's pretty funny, but the Devotion is just really not that good, considering it does a good amount of damage if you can hit your shots with it. But the thing is, the fact when it gets to shooting at that full speed, which takes a solid 2 seconds or so before you can even get to that full charge shot, it's really hard to control that recoil. So even for starting players coming into the game and they're trying to survive off spawn and they find a Devotion and they're trying to control that recoil, it's going to be really tough for them, and they're going to have a really hard time surviving an early game if they're finding Devotions off the start. Now again, when you find the turbocharger for it, it's actually pretty okay, but it's again something you probably won't want to hold for a long time in the game, because there's definitely better guns out there that are more suited for long range, short range, whatever you really need to use a gun for in this game. There's just better guns out there. At number 15, I have the Triple Take. Now this is a bit odd, because if you find a Triple Take off spawn, you're not entirely screwed. What a lot of people don't know about the Triple Take is it actually has 100% or near 100% hipfire accuracy. So if you can aim decently well and keep your ADS on a moving target or keep your reticle on a moving target, The triple take can actually be really deadly. It can hit for like 50 damage. It shoots relatively quick for a sniper rifle. Not exactly semi-auto, but it shoots relatively quickly, and it does really good damage. Sometimes it can hit for even like 50 or 60 damage body shots up close. So it's not that bad of a weapon at the start of a game. Obviously it's going to excel more at long range when you're going to want to hit longer snipes, but again, it's not completely useless early game, and that's why I have it ranked at number 15. At number 14, I have the Havoc. The Havoc obviously is the new weapon that was added into Apex Legends a while back, and I feel like it's kind of a middle of the road weapon. Early game, like I said with most of the other guns on this list, it's pretty viable. It's actually not a bad weapon if you pick it up early game. It can do decent damage. It doesn't have a terrible amount of recoil. It almost has enough recoil where you can sometimes even snap up and hit headshots when you're getting hit, and it kind of just keeps on their head. So it can be really good. It does a lot of damage really quickly, and if that rev up time doesn't worry you that much, the Havoc can actually be a really good weapon. So the Havoc comes in at number 14. At number 13, we have our first, or I guess I'm going to call it our first shotgun because I don't think the Mozambique counts at all. The EVA 8. The EVA 8 isn't that bad of a shotgun. It's actually pretty good, especially if you find a shotgun bolt for it. This thing can shoot super fast, and it can do a lot of damage, especially if you hit headshots with it. This I can see people carrying late game and doing really well with it. This gun is actually really good, especially if you have the shotgun bolt. Like I said, it makes it shoot a lot quicker, but it does decent damage without it. If you hit heads though, that's the thing, it's really inconsistent. It almost reminds me of Fortnite shotguns to an extent. Really inconsistent. If you don't hit your pellets with this gun, you're probably gonna die. There's a really good chance you're gonna die. So the EVA 8, it's okay. It can be really good if you find the attachments for it, especially if you can aim high, aim for the head. It can be really good, but that's why the EVA 8 comes in at number 13. Number 12, I have the G7 Scout. Now this gun is another gun, like I said before, that you can carry late game, and it actually can do you pretty good in the right circumstances. But again, it's kind of for longer range fights, and for the most part in Apex Legends, since the movement is so quick and so fast, and you can push really quickly onto a team in Apex Legends, I find myself getting in a lot more close range engagements rather than long range cross map fights. So the fact that the G7 Scout is more used for longer ranges, medium to long range, makes it not as viable as some other guns in the game, and that's why the G7 Scout is a little lower on this list than I bet a lot of people would like it to be. It definitely is viable. You can find a ton of light ammo in the game, and you find the gun relatively often. So it's a pretty decent weapon, especially early game when you need to pick up a couple kills and pretty much get out and switch out the gun. It's pretty decent, but nothing too great and nothing better than a lot of the guns that come after it on this list. So G7 Scout at number 12. At number 11, I have the Flatline. And this gun is pretty much, I feel like it's one of the first guns they added into Apex, or wanted to know they added into Apex. It's one of those middle of the road guns. You pick it up, you'll do fine with it. You'll usually switch it out later, but it's really middle of the pack. It doesn't do a ton of damage. It doesn't do no damage. It doesn't have a ton of recoil. It doesn't have no recoil. It's really balanced in the fact that it's really middle of the pack and can pretty much be used for anything. It's not bad. It's not great, but it comes in at number 11. At number 10 on this list, and we're getting into the top 10 now, I have the Longbow. Now, like I stated earlier, long-range fights just aren't too much of an issue for me in Apex Legends. I don't get into long-range fights near as much as I get into close-range fights at between like 1 or 2 buildings, for example. So the Longbow has its place and does a ton of damage when you can hit shots with it. But again, it's really circumstantial in the fact that you may not need to use it, or you may need to use it and it could come in really handy. It does a lot of damage, but it's not a amazing weapon. So Longbow at number 10. Coming in at number 9, I have the Prowler. Now the Prowler is again really circumstantial. This thing can actually shoot pretty far and do decent damage at long range. It can shred at close range. The only 2 downsides are to it. To make this thing insanely overpowered and probably put it into like the top 5 weapons in this game, it needs to have the select fire. If you don't find the select fire there for the Prowler, it is so much worse than it definitely could be. And the select fire, obviously, if you don't know, makes it shoot fully auto instead of a burst fire. And the second problem with the Prowler is the fact that if you don't have a heavy mag for it, you're running out of ammo every 5 seconds. It can only shoot 4 bursts without a single heavy mag on it. So that can run out of ammo so quickly. Obviously, that's enough bullets to kill someone for sure easily, but the fact that you're going to need to be reloading really often with this weapon is a major downside. But the fact that it can absolutely shred with or without the select fire, obviously with the select fire way faster, it's still a really good weapon, and I think it deserves a lot more credit than it actually gets. I see it really low on a lot of other people's lists, and I think it should be a lot higher, but all in all, Prowler at number 9. Coming in at number 8, I have the Hemlock. Now the Hemlock is really hit or miss for me. You have to switch it to semi-auto mode if you want to be successful. Burst fire mode isn't all that great in my opinion. It can be okay, especially at the beginning of the game. It can actually do really well at the beginning of the game. But once you put it in semi-auto mode, it gets a ton better, especially if you have a good trigger finger and you can shoot fast while keeping your targeting on a person. It can be really good. The only thing with it is, again, it only has 18 bullets by default without any heavy mag, so you are running out of ammo really quickly, but it does do really good damage. It can be used relatively close range, long range. It has decent hip fire accuracy. So all in all, the Hemlock is a really decent weapon, and if you find one, you should definitely pick it up, especially mid-game to early game, and then switch it out for something better, and I'll talk about some other better weapons or alternatives later in the video. But all in all, Hemlock comes in at number 8. At number 7, I have the Kraber. Now this is the gold sniper rifle that can only be found in supply drops, and the reason it's at number 7, like I said before, long range fights just aren't as common in Apex, so the fact that you need a Kraber, it just doesn't come up as often, and the use for one isn't found as much as I think for some other guns that you could pick up. So I usually leave the Kraber most of the time. It is fun to pick up a lot of the time, and especially if you can hit shots with it, it does a ton of damage and is absolutely devastating. It can change the course of a game. If you're in a long range fight, 1v1 with a squad or something like that, and it's a long range fight and you have a Kraber and you hit a shot, they are absolutely finished. And the fact that it can one-shot headshot for like 260 damage or something like that, no matter what shield they have, no matter what health they have, they're gonna get one shot in the head. That can change up games so much, and that's why the Kraber is actually really good. It's just, I feel like it's really circumstantial, like a lot of other guns on this list, or a lot of other snipers, for example, that I don't find myself picking up as often because I feel like other guns are more useful in more situations. That the Kraber comes in at number 7. At number 6, I have the Peacekeeper, and I feel like the Peacekeeper could be so much better. Obviously, it got a nerf a little while back. It's still an unreal gun. It can do tons of damage, especially with the precision choke that you can find in-game. But the Peacekeeper was so much better after this nerf. I've noticed a big difference with it. It's still really good, don't get me wrong. It wouldn't be at number 6 if it wasn't still a really good gun. But the fact that it got nerfed to the point where if you miss a shot or you miss 2 shots, which can happen with the Peacekeeper, sometimes your targeting isn't great, and if you're behind in another player's strafe that you're trying to hit, it's going to be really hard for you to adjust to their strafe if you're already behind. So the fact that if you're missing 1 or 2 shots, you're probably going to continue to miss unless you can hit a lucky shot or get back on target with them. So the fact that if you miss shots at the Peacekeeper, you're pretty much done, especially if they have a gun like the R99 or something. They are absolutely going to rip you at close range. So the fact that the Peacekeeper got this nerf, and I think it really brought it down a level. I would put this gun probably in the top 3 pre-nerf, and now that it's at number 6, I feel like that's pretty comfortable because it's still probably it is still the best shotgun in the game, but it could be better and was better at the time. So Peacekeeper at number 6. At number 5, we're finally getting into the top 5 guns in Apex. I have the R99. You can see me using it in this gameplay, and at close range, this thing is unbeaten. The only thing that could possibly beat this thing at close range is the Mastiff. We'll talk about it later in the video. But the R99 is just so good, and the fact that if you tap fire with it, you can actually hit people at decently long ranges, which is really good. But the fact that it can do so much damage so quickly at close range can absolutely change the course of a fight, especially if you have players down. And the fact that the reload time is really quick on it as well makes it a super good close range weapon. And with a light mag, you're just going to absolutely destroy people, because then you kind of have the ability to miss bullets and you don't have to be perfect in accuracy. But without the light mag, it's kind of iffy. You have to hit pretty much all your shots to kill someone, but it's so good because they are dead so fast, like insanely quickly. So I would put the R99 at number 5. It doesn't have that much recoil either, which makes it even better, especially if you can control it. This thing has almost no recoil, so I'm putting the R99 at number 5. Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Leave your list. I'd actually like to hear what you guys are using and what you guys are trying out, because maybe there's some guns that I'm using a lot less in games, and maybe I should test them out, see what they're like. So feel free to leave your comments down in the comment section down below. At number 4, I have the Wingman. Now again, the Wingman caught a nerf a couple weeks ago when they updated the game, and it was so good back then. I would say it was probably the best gun in the game. The thing shot so fast, it did so much damage, it was pretty easy to aim. It was just so good. So I think the fire rate nerf actually helped it a little bit be more balanced, because obviously it's at number 4 now as opposed to number 1. But this thing is still absolutely unreal if you can hit your shots with it. Pretty much picture a Mozambique with 4 times the bullets and can shoot faster and reloads pretty much about the same speed. So it's just absolutely crazy. It's a lot more accurate than the Mozambique as well. So the Wingman has to be at number 4. It's one of the best guns in the game still, even after the nerf. It's not overpowered to the point where if you go up against someone with a Wingman and you don't have a Wingman, you're dead. It's not like that anymore, but it's still such a good weapon, and that's why it comes in at number 4. Now we're finally getting into the top 3. So at number 3, I have the Spitfire, and I have it here for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's really good all around. Fast fire rate, can be used at medium ranges, it can be used at close ranges, and is pretty accurate. Also has a ton of ammo and not a ton of recoil. It's pretty easy to control. So the fact it makes it a really good weapon for newer players to pick up and use, considering they don't have to be incredibly accurate because it has so much ammo. It doesn't have a ton of recoil, so it's not that hard to get used to. Just everything about this gun is screaming all around really good weapon for any point in a game, and that's why it comes in at number 3. It's just a super solid gun. I see a ton of people running it, and if you start missing shots with any gun you have against someone who's using a Spitfire, good luck, because you're going to be absolutely laid out in a couple seconds. So that's why the Spitfire comes in at number 3. We're finally into the top 2. At number 2, I have the Mastiff. Now the Mastiff is the gold shotgun, obviously, that you find on supply drops. The Mastiff is absolutely incredible, especially if you can hit your bullets. Downsides to the Mastiff are it only has a certain amount of ammo, so it has 4 bullets in the clip to start and then 20 backup bullets, and you can't find any more than that unless you find a fresh Mastiff somewhere else in the game at the time. But the Mastiff is just absolutely incredible. It's so much more consistent than the Peacekeeper, for the most part, for me anyways. It does a ton more damage. Even if a Peacekeeper has precision choke, the Mastiff is absolutely ridiculous. This thing can shoot from range. It can hit for like 100 from meters away, and it's absolutely incredible. So the Mastiff, if you haven't picked it up already, or if you've been iffy about picking it up because it's a shotgun and you want a longer range weapon late game, absolutely give the Mastiff a chance. It is absolutely ridiculous. It's such a good weapon. It actually has a decent amount of ammo. 4 bullets with 20 backup bullets is actually really good, even late game. If you find them on late game, I don't think you're going to be shooting more than 20 bullets unless you're missing every single shot. It can also one shot to the head just like the Kraber can. So pick up a Mastiff if you find it. It's so good. But I mean, obviously, if you're not comfortable with it, maybe it's time to get comfortable with it. But all in all, the Mastiff is an absolutely incredible weapon inside of Apex Legends. Coming in at number 1, I have the R301. Now, hold on. Don't rage in the comments yet. This gun is just unreal. Now, I'll tell you why. First of all, it's good in any situation I can ever get into Apex Legends. It shoots quickly, it has absolutely no recoil, so it can be used at close range and be super effective. It can be used at long range, obviously, because it's an assault rifle and does really good damage, and also it doesn't have any recoil, so it's great at long range. It can be used at medium range, obviously. I think it excels the most at medium range. You can absolutely rip people with it, even if they're running and strafing to the side. It's really accurate, and I feel like I'm always hitting my bullets with it. I'm always hitting my shots, and that makes it just so fun to use, and it's a must pick up almost every game for me, which is just, it's something that I look for in guns in the games, and that any game that I play is just a gun where I can be comfortable with it and pretty much use it whenever I'm doing bad and know I'm going to have a decent game with it. So all in all, the R301 is the best gun in Apex Legends. If you haven't picked it up, give it a chance. It's absolutely unreal. It's such a good gun in all aspects, and it can be used in pretty much any situation. And all in all, that's been the list, guys. If you guys enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe if you're new. Make sure you guys leave your list down in the comment sections down below, because I would personally really like to hear what you guys have to say and what your list is, because I know for a fact that my list is not going to be liked by everyone, and so I'd like to hear what you guys think in the comment section down below. But if you guys like the video, again, make sure you like, comment, subscribe if you're new, and this has been Quezzy, guys. We'll see you in the next one. Peace. Thanks for watching.